Hello and welcome back to RC Model Reviews. Now, I've done two parts of the Turnigy 9XR review. In the first part I was a bit scathing because I thought they could have done a better job. The second part, yeah, well, after close inspection, it's not that bad a radio. It's reasonably well made and it value for money. I mean, how are you going to beat this, really? If you're looking for an entry-level radio with sort of, top-line features, it's really hard to beat it, especially with the source software they've got in here as opposed to the original 9X software. It really is quite astounding value. Now, I said originally I'd get Barry to sort of give this a few weeks or whatever to, bed it in, see if it's going to break, because Barry's good at breaking stuff. It's one of his fortes. Because Barry used to fly this. This is an old Futaba 9C. I mean, it's a brilliant radio. In their day, they were just absolutely gobsmackingly good. And just about every man and his dog had one. You either had one of these or you had a JR9303. They were sort of like the radios of the day. Now, of course, that's a few years ago now and things have changed. So Barry was flying this with the Free Sky module in the back. So he went 2.4 and it was still working. It still gave him reliable flight. It's good. It still works to this day. But cosmetically, she's not so good. This gold foil, I had a bad batch of these front plates and the gold foil would peel off, and Barry got one, of course, and it's all peeling off. It looks really horrible. It's nearly as wrinkly as my own face, and that's got to be something, isn't it? Terrible. Absolutely awful. So I thought, well, who better to test this out than Barry? So I bought this one for him. We've fitted the Free Sky JR module, because these take a JR type module, fitted that, plugged in, piece of cake. Plastic fits really well. Bound it up, works fine, no issues, no dramas whatsoever. Programmed it up to work with his AXN. That was a fairly straightforward operation. One thing I didn't like was that the channel orders by default are wrong. I mean, if you had an old one of these or one of these, you're used to having the channel orders being, aileron, elevator, throttle and rudder. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. On this, it's completely different. And it's not even the same as the JR, which is, what's the JR? It's throttle, aileron, elevator and rudder. This is different again. So if you're used to plugging your throttle servo into number 3 and your elevator into number 2, you get really confused with something like this. So you have to fiddle around, fart around and map the channels and things. So setting up's not as easy now. I think there is software you can use to set this up with your PC. Come on, we're out the field, we need to set a model up, let's do it. So it's just a bit of you have to get your mind around the new software, okay? That's all it is. If you practice, you'll get it. Once the penny drops, it's actually really easy. It's just a little bit long-winded, to be totally honest. But in doing that, I had to use these little, sort of little cross set of buttons quite a bit, and these buttons. And I've got to say, I don't like them. Now, the old ones on the 9X, hold on, stay where you are. I'll grab my 9X radio, or one of my 9X radios, so you can, here it is, it's over here, hang on. Don't you love wireless mics? I can wander off and still talk to you without dragging the camera onto the floor with the long trailing cable. Here we go. Mind you, you do get that hiss sometimes, unfortunately. Here is, let me move some stuff aside so you can all see. Here is the original 9X radio, and it has this tactile set of buttons down here, but these don't always work. I mean, the tact switches are uber budget. They're really budget switches, and they're not designed for high repetition use, not designed for high, heavy duty industrial use as they will get on a transmitter like this. So they replaced them with a very soft, I think it's a rubber and carbon setup. It doesn't click. And sometimes, to be honest, it doesn't actually really work. These are frustrating because you don't know if it's actually clicked or not, and sometimes a bit of latency in the software, you got to fart around. So I'm not a fan of that. I don't like it much. But hey, it is a $50 radio. I've got to keep telling myself that because, it's easy to forget it. It's easy to forget there's a $50 radio and you look at all the functions and features that are in there. So you've got to remind yourself. So I don't like these switches. Nah. The trim switches are a bit better because the trim switches on these, they will fail eventually. And, that can make your radio pretty useless if the trims don't work. But fortunately mine have, this one, actually they still all work. I know a lot of people whose trims have failed, but in that one, it's still good. So there you go. So Barry has been using this, and I'll put Barry's comments on the end of this video because he's not here right now, but when he comes in, I'll get him to tell you what he thinks of it as the person who's been flying with it. And one thing he's noticed is that it's a significant reduction in latency. What's that mean? Well, so these Futabas were really, a good radio, but they did suffer badly from a slow processor. So there was a latency between when you move a stick and the pulses coming out of the transmitter changing. And especially if you had anything like mixing, if you tried to use dual elevator servos on these, they were awful. If you moved the elevators, one would move and then the other would move. It was like this. Honestly, you could see the difference in speed down to latency. So they're a high latency transmitter. And obviously these are a lower latency transmitter. And even Barry has noticed the difference. He's noticed that even the AXN seems more responsive using this transmitter than it did with his 9C. That's the first thing he said. Wow, it's much more responsive. Okay, so if you're using one of these now, you will notice a definite improvement if you move to one of these. And what I've done, of course, initially, as I said, is I've put the FreeSky module in the back, as you can see. But what I'm going to do is a video very shortly showing you how to put a DIY kit in one of these. Because in the handle, as you saw in my video, there's an aerial, there's an antenna, transmitter antenna in the handle. And that's, kind of handy because these things get broken if you drop it or you bang it. It's been much nicer if you just had a flat plate on the back and you had the internal antenna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the two-way DIY module. I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to wire in the internal antenna, and we'll see how that goes. And that means that we can take the module out, just put a flat plate on the back, and it'll be a much nicer, much more sort of, less likely to damage type of a setup. So we'll do, because that's what I've done with this one. This is the Turnigy 9X, but if you look on the back, it's got the back plate off the original Turnigy module, but that's not used. There's no button in there. It's just empty. It's just hollow. I just put that module in there so that it covered the hole. If I take it out, you can see, ta-da, there's nothing in the module. It's just to cover up the hole because all the DIY is inside. And that's what will happen with this one. So there you go. If you've got any questions, comments, whatever, if you've had some experiences with this radio and you like it or you don't like it, then why not share them so that other people can see, because I'm only one data point on a very big curve. I'll hand you over to Barry for the final words, what he thinks of this radio as a user who's not a technical guy but loves to fly. So tell me, Barry, what do you think of your Turnigy radio?
Brilliant. Brilliant. It's very responsive. It does things that I want it to do, and that's what I'm real pleased. Quite bloody pleased with it.
So there we have it. That's the final word from Barry. He's no technical person, but he knows what he likes and he likes what he's got.
Mm-hmm.